Hello traders, this is CloudChartist with your weekly Ichimoku wrap-up for the week ending June 3rd. It's now June 5th, Sunday night, and I'm trying to get this video done before the markets open shortly at 6 o'clock. So I'm going to be as concise as possible, but I do have a little extra for the ES chart that we're looking at right now. So this is the ES weekly. Last week and I'll zoom in for us. Last week we put in a sort of a long leg spinning top type doji, potentially also a gravestone doji, but I doubt it. But we did put in a higher high and a higher low. So this chart is still fully bullish. Price action is above the cloud and above the Tenkan Sen here. You can see that the RSI is pretty neutral, not overbought. And I decided to draw some fibs. Let me zoom back out a little bit, actually, and then we can zoom back in. I drew some fibs. Bear with me. Here. I drew the fibs from the bodies, the real candle body high and the real candle body low. I didn't include these long wicks below, but I think they work pretty well regardless. So you see that this 2094.35 level is providing resistance. It provided resistance here at the end of last year after we traded above that level and then sold down here, put in a bounce back above the cloud. Then it acted as resistance for all this time. Then we sold off significantly and are now putting in this bounce and flagging action. So we did put in a close last week above that level, above the 2094.35 level, with a 2098.50 close, and then we're still in an uptrend from last week's candle, and we did put in a close above that 2094.35 level once again. Whether or not that's significant for the upcoming week, I'm not really sure, but I thought it was important to point out. If we do go higher, we have the prior highs up here at that 2024.50 is the candle close, and then 21.34 is the spike high. So we have those highs to look at. If we do find sellers this week, we have a couple of different things we can look at. We can look at the Chico potentially coming down and finding support at the top of this candle, which is 2092.25. So we can look for a potential pullback to that level. You can see that level was also important here. That was around 2091.50, close enough. So we could pull back to that level. Then we could continue to find some other horizontal levels that we might pull back to around 2075, and then the 78.6 level may or may not be significant, 2067.90, and then the Tenkan Sen below that. So we have quite a ways that we could pull back before becoming anything other than fully bullish on the ES weekly chart. So let's move on to CL. CL, we've been looking at the Chico, this red line here, representing price action time shifted 26 periods into the past. We see that the Chico was unable to get above the Kijun Sen here at 49.79, and then has pushed down, and we put in a close this week down here inside this range where the Chico was unable to get through the Kijun Sen here. We also note that current price action is inside the cloud. It was unable to break out over the cloud. So we do have this little isthmus of a cloud area that we can potentially expect price to trade around in. I have seen patterns like this where price actually will trade within the cloud for a while, sort of in a flagging action. Or we could break out over the cloud and then find support back here at the top of the cloud at 48.56. If we do sell back down under the cloud, we can potentially expect to find support at the Tenkan Sen down here below at 42.73. And that's it for crude. Let's move on to some other indexes. Let's look at the Dow. Dow is bullish above the cloud, above the Tenkan Sen. If you note, we did put in a higher high and a higher low, so we're still in an uptrend, but we put in the same kind of, this is more of a hammer type pattern candle. Notice that we sold off and then closed exactly where the Chicow here, this red line, found support at the top of the cloud. So that's significant. That means the Chicow is finding support. That could be plenty of support to allow the Dow to bounce higher. That's one of the reasons why you can see it more closely right here. That's one of the reasons that I always talk up the importance of the Chicow. Sometimes some Ichimoku analysts will remove the Chicow from their charts entirely, which I think is a bad idea. We do have a flat 10% below price, however, so if we do get a pullback further than that and the Chicow does trade back into the cloud, we could see a pullback as deep as the 17,690 level, which is not that far below, really, 110 points. Thereabouts, 113 points. All right, let's move on to, if we went below that, of course, we would still be bullish, but we would be in potential danger of pulling back towards the cloud. Let's look at the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ is fully bullish above the cloud. We did put in a spinning top doji on the NASDAQ, so it's not impossible that we could potentially pull back down towards the Tenkan-sen and get a bounce off that 44.2775 level. We do have a rising cloud to support any price action also, as well as the Tenkan-sen. Both of those, both the Tenkan-sen and the cloud will be confluent at that 44.28 level, so I would expect a bounce from that level. It would be highly likely if we do see any selling. If we zoom back out on the NASDAQ, we could sort of see this as a triangle type pattern. So we could expect possibly some more consolidation, maybe in a smaller range here, and then either a break to the upside or break to the downside, if you like that as a triangle pattern. The likelihood here with the Ichimoku chart is a break to the upside because we do have very solid cloud support until almost to the apex of the triangle. If we come down and test the cloud again into July, then the chance of a downside breakout or downside breakdown would be more evident. Let's move on to the Russell. I have been watching and trading the Russell last week and noting that being very aware of this cloud level, and indeed we did hit the cloud level and put in a close underneath the cloud at the 1161.50 area. We do see that the cloud is higher in the future, so we could, I'll zoom in a little bit, we could come up and test the cloud once again. This week it's just a little bit higher. It's going to be at around 1171.40. And then if we do come down and test the Tenkan-sen, which should be higher as reflecting this current price action, we could expect that to be, I'm going to guess, around the 1138, maybe a little higher, 1144 level. We'll see wherever the new Tenkan-sen opens when the new weekly candle opens, and we can expect to see that as support if we do trade below. It's possible that we could break up into the cloud too, but we do have solid cloud resistance here on the Russell. Next, we have the weekly chart of gold. We see that we found some significant buying, especially on Friday of last week when the non-farm payroll data came in much weaker than expected. We see that gold got bought up, quite a bit. It did not make it all the way up to the Tenkan-sen level that I've been looking at for since it broke under the Tenkan-sen level here. So the Tenkan-sen is currently at 1253.80. So if we do get buyers, we can expect that level to resist, or wherever the Tenkan-sen is when the new candle opens. We note that the Chicow came down, tested the cloud here at the bottom of the cloud, and bounced back out and is now above the cloud. So that's bullish. And gold, of course, is fully bullish as it's above the cloud now. It's just it's not entirely bullish until it gets back over the Tenkan-sen. If we do find sellers in gold, we can expect for potential support where the Chicow comes back and touches the top of the cloud, which is around 1238.60. And then if we continue to sell lower, we can look for support at the prior bounce point around 1215.30. And then potentially the cloud and Kijun-sen confluence down here at 1176.60. We do have this cloud twist coming up in the future I've been looking at each week, so keep an eye on that area as we move into late August, early September. Let's look at silver. Silver, we see last week came down. Let me remove these fibs. Silver came down and tested the Kijun-sen at 1584. It actually came down to 1583, just one tick below the Kijun-sen, and put in a significant bounce and found resistance at the Tenkan-sen. This is really a perfect example of how great Ichimoku can be as far as giving levels, important levels. Bounce point here and the resistance point here at 1647, about 1647, 16478. And then we put in the close at 1644 after testing a high of 1647. So that resistance level worked perfectly for silver on the weekly. So what I'm looking for next week is for the potential to silver to continue to potentially resist at the Tenkan-sen and come down and retest the top of the cloud. We'll see where the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen end up on when the new candle opens. Let's look at some treasuries. Well, it looks like the futures are about to open. I didn't finish my video quickly enough. So we see that this is ZB, the 30-year Treasury bond. We see that we put in a very bullish candle last week, but we've been trading in this range here, flagging in this range for quite some time. And so far, we've not been able to break above this, let's call it 166.25 level. We've tested this general area on multiple occasions and continue to just flag in this area. So if we do find sellers, we can expect to potentially sell back down to the Tenkan-sen, which is currently at 163.30. Or we could break higher, but there's no evidence that that's in the plans thus far. Looking at the 10-year, similar chart, flagging, and basically the same as ZB. Broke over the Tenkan-sen, put in a close up here at the prior highs, and this is a new candle opening up there. So we'll see if we can break above this 131.040 level, let's just say, or if not, potential for us to come back down and test the 130.045 level is significant. And I'm going to leave it at that for tonight. Thank you for watching, and good luck trading this week.